good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. We're getting right back to a fight night again, but this time we've got a stacked fight night again, back to back. UFC Mexico was pretty good, and it was really good to the channel. 10-2, so close to that perfect score, right there. Might be able to get it on a card like this. Let's hope so. Honestly, let's just jump right into it. First fight of the night, we've got Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. Interesting name, fire name, honestly, taking on Loik Radzhabov. This is going to be a great fight at lightweight. I'm really high on Al-Selwady. I've watched a couple of his fights on the regional circuit. He's a killer. He's always going out there, hands up, sharking around, looking to knock you out with his hands, and that's like one of my favorite styles to watch. Kind of similar to Ilia Topuria, just not as like calculated or as high level, but still pretty high level. He has a 15-3 record for a reason, and Loik has just looked kind of underwhelming in his last couple of performances. Let me just double check who he fought last, because I know it was pretty recently. He took on Mateusz Rebecki. He got obliterated in that. Yeah, he got knocked out with the overhand left. And then before that, he took on Esteban Ribovic, and that's just not the same caliber, I feel like. I actually think Abdul, despite this being his UFC debut, is going to be pretty solid. So I'm going to be taking Abdul, and I'm going to be taking him probably by a first-round knockout. I think he's just going to really come out here and try to like make a name for himself and push his name to UFC fans. Next up, we've got Ludovit Klein taking on Cunningham, another UFC debut for Cunningham. Ludovit Klein, let's just get straight to it. He's a killer, and this fight's going to be on the feet because Cunningham, despite having decent grappling, he is a striker. That's where he finds most of his success, and he's actually pretty good at it. Like he finds a lot of pretty cool knockouts. I like Cunningham. I think this is like one of the toughest fights you could take on to, debut in the UFC at lightweight. And lightweight's pretty stacked, so to be getting a killer like Ludovit Klein, I mean, if you can get past him, kudos, and you're really going to put yourself on the radar for people that are watching and looking out for prelim fighters. Ludovit Klein, I think after his performance against Ignacio Bahamondes, who's already pretty good in his own right, I have to take someone like Ludovit Klein. His striking is just on another level, and when I know that, or I trust that this is going to be a striking battle, it's just like there's levels, clear levels to the striking game, and Ludovit is on like 3 or 4 above Cunningham. It doesn't mean that AJ can't get him. He could. I hope I don't have to eat my words, but I really do think it's going to be Ludovit Klein by AJ Cunningham seems tough, but I still think it's going to be like a second-round knockout. Even if it goes to the grappling, Ludovit's better. So, yeah, I'm going to be taking Ludovit Klein. Then we got Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Claudio Ribeiro. I've got Christian Leroy Duncan winning this fight. Claudio Ribeiro has crazy power in the hands, but Leroy Duncan, he's just too smart. I feel like he's a lot more cerebral of an MMA fighter. Sorry, I just had a stroke there. Something popped up on my screen and it just shut my brain down. No, I think he's a lot more cerebral of an MMA fighter. I think his fight IQ is underrated for somebody that is so new to the sport in retrospect, because he's only 9-1 and he's only been in the UFC for like a couple of bouts. I think Claudio, his best bout is to knock him out early. He carries that power into the later rounds, but I don't think that he's going to have the speed or the timing. I think he's going to have to go for it quick, and it's possible. I mean, this is middleweight, so it's big boys. They carry power. But I do trust Christian Leroy Duncan to utilize a smart game plan. Probably go for takedowns really quickly. Probably a boring game plan, but I think he's going to get it done via decision. So I'm going to be trusting Christian Leroy Duncan for my official pick. Moving on, we've got Javid Basharat taking on Aiemann Zahabi. This is a great fight, sleeper fight, honestly. But I can't ever pick against the Basharat brothers. They're just looking too good. It's going to have to be like a specific type of matchup stylistically where I'm just like, oh yeah, you know what? I could see something. Not this one though. Aiemann Zahabi's really good. He's good everywhere. I would say he's like a jack of all trades type of fighter. I don't think he stands out anywhere at all, but maybe a little bit in the grappling, maybe a little bit in the fight IQ, because he also does have great coaching and it shows. But Javid Basharat is just on a different level. He's 14-0 for a reason. I think his brother's undefeated too. They're just crazy, and every time I watch them fight, I gain more respect for them. I'm going to have to be taking Javid Basharat. I'm going to be taking him by a decision. Actually, I think it's going to be a submission. For some reason, I have this vision of Aiemann Zahabi tapping out and, his face like blown up red. So I'm taking Javid Basharat by some type of submission. That's like a choke, not like a arm bar or some shit like that. And then moving on up the card, not a joint lock. Moving on up the card, we got Vinicius Oliveira taking on Benardo Sopaj. Two more debutees in the UFC. I'm taking Benardo Sopaj. I really like this guy. I think he's gonna do good in the UFC if they match him up well. He's a bantamweight. He's super explosive. I just think the difference is Vinicius, he can land something on the feet, and I think he is going to land like some counter strikes that wake up Benardo in the first round. But Bernardo's speed is on a different level, and his explosiveness. I think he's going to be popping in and out of the pocket really fast and landing a lot of his own strikes. I think it's going to be a war for a little bit because they're bantamweights, and they're both solid bantamweights with good records, 19-3 versus 11-2. But I think it's going to ultimately go to Benardo Sopaj. Maybe by a decision, maybe by a late finish. I'll lean towards decision since I don't want to sit on a fence. But this guy is really good. Look out for Benardo Sopaj. I love bantamweight. I love flyweight. Like these weight classes are just so stacked all the way down to like the top 30. And flyweight's finally starting to get there in the UFC. Now we're in the last couple of fights. Eryk Anders taking on Jamie Pickett. This is a hard fight to pick because both these fighters are like very 50-50. Like they can beat people you wouldn't expect them to be if they come out and like actually had a good training camp and are really in it. But then they can lose to people that you would just think like should be a lock for them to win against. So I don't know, like fight style wise, they're both tough. They both like to strike primarily, but they'll go to the grappling. I think Eryk Anders might be a little bit better of a grappler, and I think he's gonna have a little bit better of a chin just due to how he's built. Like the dude's neck is so thick. I don't know how else to say it. Pause. But it really just is, and I feel like that helps with taking a punch, taking a kick. I've seen him eat some crazy shit or just come back from some wild shit. He has some heart too. So I'm gonna lean with Eryk Anders here. I think he can get it done by a kind of boring decision, or maybe it'll be a fight of the night. Like you never know with these people. You really don't. I'm gonna trust Eryk Anders though. Let's hope that you can get this one done because people do like you, but if you keep just losing, the UFC is gonna have to cut you at some point. We don't really need another smiley Sam Alvey type of fighter. You feel me? Now we're on to the main card, though. Matt Schnell taking on Steve Erceg. I have to side with Steve Erceg. 2-0 in the UFC already. His first fight was a top 15 ranking. I have not seen that happen in a long time. I think he's also just technically too good. He always comes in with a clear-cut game plan. His striking is crisp. His grappling's crisp. He has heart. He's tough as shit. He has everything that you'd want to see in an up-and-coming prospect, and he has a pretty clean record, 11-1. Matt Schnell, although I really do like him, and he shot up as one of my top fighters to watch out for at flyweight. After that comeback that he had against Sumadarji, I thought that was awesome. I think it was Sumadarji. Let me just double check here, because sometimes y'all be checking me in the comments, and it's a good thing. Yeah, it was Sumadarji. Okay, yeah. Great fight. Hell of a fight. If you guys haven't seen it, please go watch Matt Schnell versus Sumadarji. He was getting obliterated. It was some Frankie Edgar shit. Like, he was getting dropped around all over the place, getting rocked with like every hit. And he still comes back and latches up a triangle. It was beautiful. He has a lot of heart, but he's too chinny. He's taking too much damage. He's too weathered in his career. I mean, he could get it done and have another, big story and like perhaps have another run. This is where it would start. I don't think it's going to, though. I think Steve Erceg is going to clear it 3-0, keep his perfect streak in the octagon, and we're going to see a lot more of this guy. So stay on the lookout for Steve Erceg. He's putting on for Australia. Moving on up the card, we've got Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Bekzat Almakhan. This is my sleeper fight of the card. I'm not trusting that it's going to stay together. I could honestly see this being pulled like last minute because shenanigans happen all the time with Umar and his family. But when they do show up, they usually dominate. You have to respect it. The money line is ridiculous. Minus 1,200 right now for Umar. That's dumb. If you watch any of Bekzat's fights, you know he's a killer. He's from Kazakhstan. He's 17-1. He primarily strikes. I haven't seen too much grappling from him when I watch his film. He really does like to get it done on the feet, and he does usually. This is going to be a tough ask. I think Umar knows that this guy is a lot better than people are expecting him to be, especially Vegas. And he's probably going to come out and grapple. And because of that, I'm going to trust Umar to get this one done. On the feet, I think he's going to have a hard time. This could end up being one of those types of fights where it's like Islam and Arman Saryukian, like where we look back at this and we're like, man, these guys are going to fight each other again, like for a championship or for a top ranking or something, because Bekzat really is that caliber of a fighter. I think he's going to be a solid debutee, solid addition to bantamweight in the UFC, but I do think he's going to probably lose. And then moving on up the card, we've got the feature fight of the night, Alex Perez taking on Muhammad Mokaev. Fun fact, and I'll put a little screenshot of it up here if I could find it, because this just happened the other day. I think John Anik made a post, and he was talking about who should the fans, or who do the fans, let me rephrase this. John Anik made a post, and he was asking the fans who they think deserves the next title shot at flyweight, because Pantoja's 5-0 against the two people that just fought in the main event last weekend. They were like the two most like worthy, I guess, on paper. So he was asking who we thought, and I said, maybe it's controversial, but I think Muhammad Mokaev, if he gets it done tonight, or if he gets it done this weekend, because he's just getting so many finishes, he makes weight. He's pretty exciting in my opinion. I mean, some of his fights can be boring if you're bored of like domination, but I'm not. I think it's pretty clean technical work, and he's 10-0. I don't know, I just think everything is there, and he actually liked my comment, which is crazy. And it wasn't like a comment that blew up on Anik's post or anything. It had like maybe one other like from some random person. But Muhammad Mokaev saw it, and I thought that was cool. I really do think he's going to get this one done, though, against Alex Perez. I like Alex Perez. He has solid leg kicks. 2 back-to-back leg kick TKOs at flyweight. When he was on that run before he lost to Davison, I really thought, like, man, Alex Perez might be it, just due to his stature at flyweight and everything. But I think that he has some weaknesses that have been exploited a lot lately, primarily in the grappling department, and I think Muhammad Mokaev, that's like his bread and butter, so he's going to be exploiting that all day. So I'm going to be taking Muhammad Mokaev via a second round submission. I think he's going to make it look easier than people expect. Moving on up the card, co-main event time, Vitor Petrino taking on Tyson Pedro. This is a hard fight to call, honestly. Tyson Pedro, he's one of those fighters, like if he shows up, he could be a world champion, I feel like. And if he doesn't, he can lose to some really like bottom of the barrel fighters. I don't think Vitor Petrino is bottom of the barrel by any means, but I'm just saying, like, that's how 50-50 Tyson is. I think he's so much better than Vitor technically on the feet when he is on. I'm just nervous that he might not be on. I know things have been looking up for him lately. I want to side with him, but the last time I've done that, I think the last 2 times I sided with him, he really disappointed me. So I'm going to be siding with Vitor Petrino. I think he can work a grappling game plan and maybe tire out Tyson Pedro, which I know seems crazy because Vitor's the power striker with all the muscle. But I think that he's going to be able to mix up MMA better than Tyson Pedro will. And after like the first round, Tyson's not going to look the same. I'm going to trust Vitor here. This is up in the air though. I wouldn't trust my word too much at all, honestly. Go with your own picks on this one, because this one's a tough one to bet on. And then we've got the main event of the night, Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Shamil Gaziev. Just side note, has anyone else noticed that Jairzinho is always in main events and it seems like he loses most of them? Like, maybe I'm tripping, but I don't know why he's always in the spotlight. Whatever, though, I'll take it. Shamil Gaziev, kind of a striker of a heavyweight, and Jairzinho is a striker. So I think that this one's going to be, it has potential to at least be a good fight and end in like a pretty spectacular knockout. But I don't understand why the odds are so in favor of Shamil. I mean, maybe it's just because that 12-0 looks pretty. Jairzinho is a pretty solid striker. I think he's underrated, especially with the footwork. He's pretty underrated for a heavyweight. I do think Shamil probably has enough tools to get it done and enough heart, and he also just has that undefeated mindset. But I don't think it would be a bad pick to side with the underdog at plus 140 in Jairzinho. He's definitely not somebody you can count out when he's not fighting a grappler, you know? Or Francis Ngannou, I guess. I'm going to side with Shamil Gaziev. I do think that he has enough to get it done. The striking style, it's just, to me, it's like, they're so similar, low-key, in the way that they throw strikes. Not like technically, but the way that they throw out like just primarily 1-2s, and they're not looking for much more than that, and maybe some hooks over the top. They're really basic, but it works when it works. You feel me? I'm going to side with Shamil Gaziev, point blank period. I think he's just going to get it done. I would like Jairzinho to go back up in the spotlight. Just don't see it happening. Let me know what you guys think, though, of this whole card in general. I just noticed there's no female fights, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about. Shout out to my female MMA fighters. But, wow. Yeah, no female fights. Okay, well, 11-fight card. Let's see what you guys think of it. I hope we can get another close to perfect. I want to get back on that streak, man. The adrenaline from building up to 10-0 on the UFC Mexico card, nothing was like it. But yeah, I'll catch y'all. Thank you for supporting the content. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you all make some money on this card.